안녕하세요. Riding on the Korean wave. Welcome to Tuesday's edition of The Culture Wave. I'm Kwon Soa in Seoul. Explore with us Korea's culture from all aspects and stay up to date with K-entertainment, K-trends, K-people, and a special focus on a K-drama today. And today we'll do all of that together with my co-host Walter Lee in the studio. Hello, Walter.
Hello, Soa, and hello everyone at home. I'm Walter Lee. I have the latest in K-enter news just for you, so stick around.
Walter, we have an exciting show coming up today, and I'm especially looking forward to the Culture Issue segment later on.
Yes.
I'll give you a hint on what it is. Hide and seek, jump rope.
These are children's games, aren't they?
Wait, I'm not done yet. Squid Game.
Oh, well, of course. We're talking about Squid Game Season 3, aren't we? Yes,
Of course. And those were some of the games that actually appear in the drama. But before that, so we have to start with K-entertainment news.
Okay.
And starting with BTS, they have an upcoming album, but it's a first of its kind album. What is it about?
Yes, it's not quite the album that we expect as soon as they're all out of the military, but BTS will release their first ever live concert album, Permission to Dance on Stage, live on July 18th. Now, this album marks the group's first live album since their formation. It features 22 live tracks from their 2021-2022 Permission to Dance on Stage tour, including some of the fan favorites like On, Fire, Dope, and Idol. Now, BTS's agency Big Hit Music commented, "We hope this album brings back memories of the BTS Permission to Dance on Stage concerts." Now, may every moment be shared with BTS continue to shine in your hearts as they continue to read. The 2021-2022 tour took place across 12 shows in 3 cities, that's Seoul, Los Angeles, and Las Vegas, reaching 4 million fans through online live streams, live viewings, in-person events as well. During this tour, BTS also became the first Korean act to perform at Sophie Stadium in Los Angeles and Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas.
Walter, I'll give you the permission to dance.
Yes, I will after the show.
Okay, rather, I'll give you the permission to move on to our next issue, and it's about a member of 17 and esports.
That's interesting, isn't it? I feel this story is actually for our other beautiful co-host Bella, as she is an esports fanatic. But do you know the youngest member of 17 has lent his voice to the official theme song for the 2025 Esports World Cup? Now, according to Esports World Cup Foundation in Saudi Arabia and his agency Lotus Entertainment, Dino took part in recording the theme song titled Till My Fingers Bleed, which is quite an interesting title for when we were talking about gaming, which was released on Monday. Now, the track also features American hip-hop artist Duckworth and metalcore band The Word Alive. Now, Dino will debut the live performance of Till My Fingers Bleed at the EWC opening ceremony on July 10th in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Now, the EWC is the world's largest esports event, drawing 2.6 million attendees and over 500 million online viewers. Now, that was just last year. Who knows what it is this year? This is the first time a K-pop artist has performed an official theme song for the competition.
Sounds very exciting. And last but not least, we're going to move on to a K-movie that received a big praise abroad.
Yes, it did. So, director Ho Jin-ho's A Normal Family has been selected by US entertainment outlet Variety as one of the best films of 2025 so far. Variety curated the list from standout international films screened in North America during the first half of the year, with A Normal Family being the only Korean film to earn a spot. Now, it's actually adapted from Dutch author Herman Koch's best-selling novel, The Dinner. Now, the film is a tense psychological thriller that follows 2 well-off couples whose lives spiral out of control after discovering their children were involved in a murder. Now, Variety praised the film as suspenseful and morally harrowing drama, adding that it's sure to grip viewers from the opening scene. So if you haven't seen it, make sure you do.
Well, it definitely did for me because I remember it was one of the movies we talked in depth in one of our very first shows on the Culture Wave because it was released domestically in October last year.
Yes.
So thank you very much for that, Walter, and don't go anywhere.
Won't.
And now let's move over to our AI anchor, Ari, for other culture-related news. Ari?
Hello and welcome to your AI guide to the latest cultural updates from Korea. Here's our top story. Korea has named the southern port city of Busan as its official candidate to host the 48th session of the UNESCO World Heritage Committee next year. The National Heritage Service announced on Monday that Busan was selected over Jeju Island after a thorough review of venue facilities, accessibility, and connections to nearby World Heritage sites. UNESCO will name the final host city at this year's session of the World Heritage Committee set for July 15th in Paris. The UNESCO World Heritage Committee is an intergovernmental body that meets annually to make key decisions regarding the inscription, conservation, and protection of World Heritage sites. Passengers aboard France's high-speed TJV trains, which serve over 100 million people annually, can now enjoy Korean webtoons during their journey. Naver Webtoon has partnered with TJV to provide 15 Korean and French webtoons as exclusive in-train content. Passengers can access a variety of online content through the train's onboard network. And for the first time, webtoons have been added to the platform. Naver Webtoon launched its French language service in 2019 and has since been expanding its presence in the French market. The city of Chuncheon in Gangwon-do Province has launched a new tour pass exclusively for international visitors to cater to the needs of independent foreign travelers. The pass offers access to the city's 11 key attractions, including Legoland Korea Resort and Gimyujang Literature Village, all through a single mobile ticket. A 48-hour pass is priced at 49,900 won, and a 24-hour light pass at 15,900 won. City officials say the initiative aims to enhance convenience for foreign tourists and establish Chuncheon as a stayover destination, which is expected to help boost the local economy. That's all from me. Stay tuned to the Culture Wave.
In a bid to promote Korea as a global cultural powerhouse, President Lee Jae-myung has invited leading cultural figures to his office to hear their voices and discuss ways to expand support for artists. Arirang's top office correspondent Yoon Jung-min reports.
A power that is soft but strong. The message was prominent as President Lee Jae-myung hosted leading figures in the cultural sector at the presidential office on Monday, given the impact of culture on the economy and beyond borders.
폭삭 속았수다를 보면서 이거를 하나의 산업으로 키워서 대한민국이 전 세계에 이렇게 딱 드러날 수 있는 결정적인 계기가 될 수도 있겠다 이 생각이 그때 들었습니다. 전 세계로 좀 진출해서 대한민국의 문화적 영향력을 키우면 우리가 세계적인 강국으로.
For that, he urged the need to significantly increase investment and support for the culture industry. Along with First Lady Kim Hae-kyung, among those invited were musical writer Park Chun-hyo, who wrote a Tony Award-winning Maybe Happy Ending, renowned soprano Cho Soo-mi, and 16-year-old ballerino Park Yun-jae. Also present were Kim Won-seok, director of the Netflix hit drama When Life Gives You Tangerines, and Heo Ga-young, who recently won first prize in the La Cinef section at the Cannes for her short film First Summer.
As for the performance industry, we need more exchanges with local experts overseas. I ask for policies to help invite overseas experts here for cooperation, or artists here going abroad.
The roundtable focused on hearing from artists themselves, as the president often emphasizes the need to listen to voices on the ground to devise tailored policies from their point of view, though he did pitch his suggestion based on his administrative experience as a governor.
사실 우리 사회 전체 수준을 높이기 위한 일종의 투자다 이렇게 생각을 좀 해줘야 될 것 같아서 제가 이제 문화 예술인 기본소득 같은 걸 도입하자.
This is in line with Lee's pledges in his inaugural speech when he vowed to make Korea one of the top 5 cultural powerhouses in the world, as he quoted a famous phrase by independence activist Kim Gu, who wished for the power of a high culture. The meeting took place amid growing recognition of Korean culture on the global stage. What lies ahead is how to materialize what's been discussed to actually support artists. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
게임이 종료되었습니다. Game over. Korea's most successful Netflix series that took the world by storm, Squid Game, has finally wrapped up its epic journey with season 3. Let's see how the reactions have been so far, and for that we are joined by Jae So, professor and filmmaker at Seoul Institute of the Arts. Hello, Professor So. Welcome.
Hello, Professor.
Nice to be back.
I really couldn't wait to watch the final Squid Game series and talk about it with you. So there was so much anticipation about it, and it's been already topping the Netflix charts worldwide within a day, because maybe a lot of people have been already watching the whole 6-part series over the weekend. So Professor So, what did you think of the final installment, and how has been the reaction locally and overseas?
Well, I liked it personally, but it looks like it's getting mixed reviews. So there's an aggregate site called Rotten Tomatoes where people sort of like the critics write reviews, and amongst the critics, it's scoring at 82%, which was a little lower than season 2, which was 83. But the audience participation was at 50%. So it's people are a little angry at the film because too many characters are dying. I don't want to give spoilers, but basically I think there's kind of a disappointment in this kind of situation. So a lot of the reviews, I was reading it, like Washington Post wrote, Squid Game ends with a squishy note. Hollywood Reporter, Netflix once thrilling smash limps to the unsatisfying finish. So there are all these kind of sort of, I think people were expecting too much of this. So I'm not that surprised that people are maybe not satisfied with the endings. But if you look at every great series that was before, like Game of Thrones, or any of the big series, like even I'm thinking even back as to like Sopranos, like everybody's dissatisfied with the last season or the last episode. So it's just par for the course. Yeah.
Yes, it happens a lot with these sort of series, doesn't it? Especially when there's so much anticipation built up, especially with the fact that season 2 and season 3 were so close together, and the fact that there was a cliffhanger at the season 2 and it was so close to season 3. But now we need to tread a little lightly without giving too much away. What was season 3 about, and do you think it was a good way to end the series in your opinion?
Well, you know, it's divided into 3 sections. So you have season 1, which sets up everything. You know, you have the red light, green light, and the games, and just how scary that whole world is. Season 2 was a continuation of that, and usually season 3, with the last season, is sort of the resolution of the whole story. So we had 3 storylines with the cliffhanger, as you talked about in season 2, which was, one was Ji-hoon what happened to him after he tried to fight the system. Then he's now playing again as player 456. And then we have the policeman who's trying to figure out with a bunch of other sort of commandos trying to infiltrate the island. Then we also have a story of one of the staff members on Squid Game. She's a North Korean, you know, defector. And then so these 3 storylines sort of like basically resolve itself. So we're heading towards like what happens to these people at the end. So that's what season 3 is about. But some people have said that instead of a whole new series, like a new season, the first one had 9 episodes, second one had 7, and then this one, the third season, had only 6. So there's some complaints like, is it a separate season, or is it more like season 2.2? You know, it's like season 2 had like, that's the A part, and the season 2 part B is actually the third season. So that's how people are looking at it. But I thought it was really terrific because, you know, it ended all the storytelling in a way. Maybe not in a satisfactory way, but, you know, I can't think of a series that would go on for like 8 or 9 seasons that were successful, even though there have been. And I always think like, for example, like The Walking Dead, you know, people stop watching it after a certain season.
Right, as you mentioned, I mean, throughout all 3 seasons, Ki-hoon was the main character, played by Lee Jung-jae, and you mentioned a few of the differences already, but what do you think made season 3 different from seasons 1 and 2? What was the biggest difference, if there was?
Well, to me, the biggest difference is just like we get to see what happens at the end. I think in any storytelling, you have basically the heroes, they want something, they have challenges, and at the end, did they succeed or did they fail? So we get to find that out. But I think what's interesting is, you know, director Hwang Dong-hyuk, who's a film director, you know, he made this sort of a series on Netflix, and it was sort of an episodic thing. So it's like a very long movie to me. And I think what's also special about it is he never intended to do seasons 2 and 3, but because of the popularity, he was sort of asked to come back, and of course they paid him a lot more. And I think what's great about him is that he thinks like a movie director. So it feels like there are 3, you know, it's a sequel and another sequel that kind of work as one whole. And he didn't usually, like these series have like writers, many different writers, but this all comes from his head, from one man writing the show. So it has a consistency to it, and I think the resolution really works because he designed it that way. You know, of course, season 1 is like something, a standard that you created with the look, even the music, everything was so special about it that if you keep seeing it, it doesn't seem special anymore. And so that's why I think people are disappointed.
I think it's also because we know that these games are being played inside Squid Game, so there's much that you already expect, and I think that's also why season 3 was said to be even more brutal and had even more moral dilemmas, so that people, you know, can get a little bit more excited about it than what they expect in the first and second seasons.
Sure.
And I think you also brought up a really important point there, that season 1 was never expected to go past season 1, right? There was season 1, it never expected to go as big as it did, and then suddenly there's a season 2 and season 3. So he had to bring something else to the table, and he, like the director even said, like he was losing teeth while he was writing writing it, and I can only imagine the stress he was under. But obviously, we got 3 seasons, and a variety of actors showed off their impressive acting throughout the whole 3 seasons. What are some characters that sort of stood out to you amongst 3 seasons, and would you say they received a lot of attention? Who would you say received a lot of attention in that 3rd season?
Definitely Lee Jung-jae.
Yeah.
You know, because you can even see that he's lost weight.
Yeah.
He just looks like really thin.
Yeah.
And like the character. So even director Hwang Dong-hyuk was complimenting Lee Jung-jae for really dedicating his acting to losing weight. You know, in the first season, I think they had snacks and things like that. Second season, he wasn't eating. In the third season, he was like starving.
Yeah.
So that really showed in his acting. And then also, there's the character of the North Korean, sort of the defector. She's played by Park Kyung, and I think it kind of harkens back to the first season where there's a North Korean defector named Jung Ho-young played that character, and so she's really I liked her acting a lot, and then she's a really strong character in the series because she's able to kind of fight the other staff members and things like that. So she has that kind of moral center, sort of like Ji-hoon's character, and I really like Im Siwan in this. So
I was gonna mention him
number
if you are not
333. So Im Siwan, who's comes from, he's an idol star too, but he also was in a lot of series as Miseng, I would think of that. He's a really good actor. And in this one, he doesn't play a very good character, but it's very, I would say impressionable, his acting. And of course it goes with player 222, who is played by Cho Yuri. So basically they had a relationship before and she's pregnant. And Cho Yuri is also an idol star as well. So it's these guys kind of really shine in the series, and I think the sub characters are kind of the ones that really do it. And then of course Park Sung, who plays the transgender character, is one of fan favorites. He's like the transgender character that is actually special forces. He's really tough.
Right.
So all these side characters are definitely sort of the magic behind what the success of Squid Game is, for sure.
Yes, I have to agree with all of those characters that you mentioned, Professor So. And I have a question. Is there a different, reaction compared, overseas reactions versus local reaction regarding some of the parts in the series?
Yeah, it's complex. I think for Koreans, there's a sense of pride that it's such a big hit. But at the same time, almost people went to see it because everybody's watching it abroad. But there's also a slight embarrassment because some people are saying Squid Game represents Korea, how it is here. And some Korean fans are well, it's not as bad as it is in the games. But some people are it is, because many people are in debt. If there was a game like this, people would play it. So we have that kind of difference. But I think the other surprising difference is how the story is very Korean, and it plays with all these childhood games that are only particular to Korea. Like the red light, green light. We have other things in different countries, but 달고나 or 딱지치기. A lot of the games are just very particular to Korea. But it seems the world really loves that stuff, and they're eating that up. And I think one of the reasons why the fan base is not so excited about season 3 is because we do introduce more games, but they're not as spectacular as they are, basically in the first 2 seasons. And I think that's one of the reasons, they want to see something more, but it's how many games can you get through,
Now, Professor So, do you think we could have another similar global phenomenon like Squid Game? And also, is it actually really over for Squid Game? Because some people are speculating there could be another series, another sequel, or maybe a kind of spin-off, maybe? What do you think?
Well, definitely. I mean, you get that hint because I'm not going to give the spoiler alert here, but it's basically a famous actor comes out at the end. There's a cameo. So it's hinting that there may be sort of another Squid Game coming out. But according to director Hwang Dong-hyuk, he doesn't really think so. He wants it to end here. But again, this was bought by Netflix. They own the IP on it. So I'd be surprised if they wouldn't start one. I mean, there's rumors on the internet that, David Fincher's going to direct the American version and things like that. But to me, it works as a complete set, the 3 seasons. And I think in order to answer your question about in the future, can Korean dramas also succeed in this fashion? I think the way to do it is really study how Squid Game succeeded, but at the same time, it's so unique. I don't think another Squid Game is going to come out for a long time. But one of the things that people are getting more confident is if you tell a very Korean story, it's not just for Koreans now. Everybody seems interested in Korea. Korean, beauty products, Korean food is becoming kind of internationalized and a global phenomenon. So I think filmmakers don't have to worry, if I make something so Korean, are people going to be interested? It's definitely a magic factor that needs to be in any of the dramas. I mean, we've had big hits like Vincenzo or Crash Landing on You. These are just Korean dramas that people love. So I think I think Squid Game is special because it was directed by a filmmaker, and all the filmmakers went to work on it. So that's going to be sort of like a unique kind of situation that can't be repeatable. But I really think Korean stuff, Korean content, K-content as you call it, is in the future, everybody's like excited to see what's coming up with next. And there are a lot of filmmakers and drama makers that are just like quickly writing new stories. And I think we need better stories, better characters, something that'll like just take the audience, by the horns and sort of have them immersed into the story. And I think they'll have a success sort of formula after that.
I really think it is a positive that many people are now very open to everything Korean. And it's the end of Squid Game, and it's also the end of our show today. But for us, it's to be continued. Thank you very much, Professor So, and see you next time.
Thank you, Professor.
My pleasure.
And thank you, Walter, as always. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you for spending the past half an hour with us on the Culture Wave. Please join us again tomorrow for the next round of the show on Wednesday at 2 p.m. Korea time.